The Star Wars franchise has put heavy focus in the past on the identity of the Jedi. Some might argue that the broader story centers too much around our Force-using friends, and that world building would benefit from more external perspectives. But what if the Jedi were created from scratch, and their identity was, much like everyone else, subjective to their personal experience? Honestly, I believe that this was meant to be more of the case when the original trilogy was coming out. But in the late 90s and early 2000s, we had a different look at the Jedi. This look structured the idea of the Order around that of a dogmatic ritual. It showed a more religious hierarchy that exposed how controlling spirituality eventually leads to a natural rejection of that structure. Ironically, at the same time that these movies were exploring this unhealthy concept of the Jedi, we got a couple games that explored the idea of balance in the context of being a Force user. The Jedi Knight games were very much a spiritual successor to the concepts explored in early Star Wars, and continues on the legacy of what the Jedi were built up to be in the original trilogy. Seeing as how I have already explored and dissected the 2002 game, Jedi Outcast, I thought it would be good to touch on its quasi-DLC. As I explored in the previous video, these games explore the idea of free will, and how, despite and in spite of circumstances, the choices we make decide our fate. So let's dig into the story of Kyle Katarn further, and how his choices resulted in influencing the future of the Jedi Order. One thing that decades of involvement in the fandom of Star Wars has taught me is that you can't tell a really good story without revisiting that story through a different lens eventually. This is a testament to how strong the themes of light and dark are in these movies, books, games, and TV shows. The spiritual metaphor is oozing off the written page, and is why the Jedi and Sith are generally the core focus of this universe. The Jedi Knight games are no exception to this. In the spirit of George Lucas's creativity, Outcast and Academy revisit the themes explored in the previous two editions.
Yeah, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
I had made my previous Outcast video completely blind to half of this previous narrative though, as my comment section made me fully aware of the reason that Kyle's character had shifted so dramatically from Dark Forces 2 to Outcast was this little game called Mysteries of the Sith. Much like Academy, this game is centered around the idea of playing as Kyle's apprentice, Mara Jade. And yes, that's the same Mara Jade that was the Hand of the Emperor turned Jedi, and ended up becoming the mother of Luke Skywalker's children. Before that romantic commitment, however, she took on an apprenticeship with our beloved hero. In that story, she was instrumental in swaying Kyle away from the pull of the dark side after he finds an old Sith temple with dark influential forces at work in it. This influence coming from someone that was the hand of the dark side at one point showcases the nuanced personalities at play when it comes to one's interaction with the Force. It really adds a certain context to the concept of pursuing whatever the ideal of Jedi is. If you were to only watch the prequel trilogy, you would think that the Force was more of a scientific concept that picks people based off of their predetermined traits. These games very much embody what Yoda and Obi-Wan described the Force to be in the original trilogy.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
Life creates it, makes it grow. It's energy. surrounds us and binds us.
If these definitions are really at the core of what the Force is, then someone's connection to it is not as much a physical concept as it is a metaphysical one. This being the case, your choice in how to engage with the Force is very much a mature adult discipline. Instead of being born into it and having that innate quality trained up in yourself by others with that same innate quality, it is about tapping into the universal essence of reality and deciding how you will engage with it. It's like being a Buddhist monk. You can be set on that path as a young child, but ultimately you determine if it's something that's right for you when you're mature enough to realize why it's important to follow these disciplines. Kyle Katarn is constantly choosing the nature of his pursuit of this discipline in these games. He's not destined one way or another, and as a result, we feel the humanity within him. How appropriate is it that after he is torn between dark and light, a couple times, mind you, to ultimately come to the choice of joining the light, that the next story would be about his student doing the same thing? Jedi Academy is a more naive exploration of this journey. Kyle has the benefit of experience. He has faced much darkness and overcome that struggle in a few different ways, but his new students, while having a certain level of talent before their training, are completely ignorant to the spiritual struggle of using the Force. From the get-go, we can see that our protagonist has already built his lightsaber, and his new annoying found friend has some limited ability to use the Force already as well. Jaden and Rosh are great conduits for exploring this concept of naivety. Jaden is a blank slate, ready to be crafted by training and circumstance, and Rosh is an insecure, overcompensating dweeb who has something to prove. We can see this in the juxtaposition of their voice acting alone.
I can't help it. I want to make a good impression.
You seem really nervous.
Aren't you? I mean, well, why would you be? You already have a lightsaber, so you're probably way ahead of me. I'm Rosh, by the way. What's your name?
Jaden.
They are forced to team up right from the get-go and test their abilities together after the student shuttle gets shot out of the sky. This makes for an early inciting incident where we get to be reunited with our side villain from the last game. Tavion was actually a really solid pick for this story, because she embodies the naive student trying to prove something, just as much as our young Jedi. And she obviously didn't learn the right lesson from her last humbling encounter with a Jedi. After the adults in the room assess what happens after our students run in with the dark side user, we get a nice juxtaposition to that more rational, mature back and forth by having Rosh gawk over someone with a reputation.
I think that was Luke Skywalker. I can't believe it.
Much like Tavion, her apprentice obviously takes after her immature master in trying to posture like she is important without having the wisdom to back it up. I think it's kind of interesting that Outcast had this mature juxtaposition of backstory with its hero and villain, while this game explores a more inexperienced dynamic. Of course, inexperience demands a teacher, and Kyle lays out what his role is in the story right from the start.
Master Katarn, it's an honor to be serving under you.
First off, just call me Kyle. Titles make my skin crawl. Secondly, you're not serving under me. I'm going to teach you, and you're going to learn. That's it.
This is the epitome of what Kyle's character has developed into. He's a man with experience that will lead by example, but not demand subservience. He expands upon this by talking about the choices of what kind of force powers they can choose.
This course will familiarize you with your core force abilities. These are powers that every force user has. As you progress in your training, you will learn new abilities. Both the light and dark sides will be open to you. Remember, abilities are not inherently good or evil. It's how you use them.
Rosh ultimately fails this test by letting his ego cloud his judgment. Kyle responds to this as a mature parent would.
I'm sorry,
I'm not the one you should be apologizing to.
It's no big deal. You said yourself this wasn't a competition.
Hey, it was just a joke. I didn't think it would...
If that droid was set to Luke's training regimen, it would have killed Jaden. What were you thinking?
Jaden, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I mean, I wasn't trying to...
Save it, Rosh.
Jaden, you have a right to be angry. But believe me when I say you don't want to feed that emotion.
I understand, Master Katarn. Apology accepted, Rosh.
Notice how he focuses on teaching a lesson to both of them in this scenario. Kyle acts as a voice of reason in this game. He is obviously still figuring out this master-student dynamic himself, and these two are a great challenge for him to exercise his self-control in letting them learn naturally, just as he has. This is shown to us even further by how much Jaden is allowed to exercise control over his own missions, and Kyle's encouragement after the fact. Rosh, however, doesn't seem to see it this way.
Ever wonder if your master is holding you back? You know, making sure you don't become too powerful?
Why would you say that?
Well, Kyle doesn't seem to really foster my talents. I've gone on a couple of missions with him, but doesn't let me do any of the really important stuff.
Maybe he's observing you. You know, seeing how you accomplish your missions. I wouldn't worry about it.
I'm not so sure. What do you think, Jaden?
Well,
Ready to get back out there? Did I interrupt something?
Obviously, Kyle is dishing out responsibility to the extent that he thinks his students can handle it. Jaden continues to handle things independently, while Rosh is getting spoon-fed, perhaps. It is only when, in the spirit of pursuing these cultists, Luke Skywalker sends everybody out on their own missions, that we see how ready these two actually are. Tavion has been using this ancient Sith relic to gather Force energy on different planets with strong Force auras around them. As a result, Jaden is sent to a familiar spot from the films.
Jaden, I'm sending you to Hoth, where I had a vision of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I imagine there was a pretty strong aura there. Rosh, I'm sending you to the remains of the planet Biss. It's very remote, so I doubt the cult has been there. Don't stay too long. The Imperial Remnant may still be operating in the area.
No problem.
What could possibly go wrong? In Jaden's exploration of Hoth, he comes across the cocky apprentice once again, expanding on the cultist plot to her master. Ironically, she says this to Jaden.
Ah, you must be the saber-wielding troublemaker who neutralized our perimeter guard. Are the Jedi stretched so thin that Skywalker sends children to battle the disciples of Ragnos?
Obviously, Rosh's ego is not the only one that is out of touch. That being said, Rosh causes his poor dad to worry about him.
Kyle, what about Biss?
Rosh hasn't returned. He's long overdue and we haven't heard from him.
I sense he's still alive.
I'm going to Biss to look for him. I know some people that can get me into some of the outlying Imperial outposts. I'll see what I can find out.
Very well.
what about me? I want to help. Rosh is my friend.
You can help by staying here and completing your training.
Kyle's right. There are still missions for you to undertake, and we can't neglect the training of one of our most promising students.
Promising?
Yes. Due to your heroics on Hoth, we are promoting you to apprentice.
Obviously, Jaden's eagerness to learn and follow instructions have led to a larger amount of responsibility and trust put upon him. He continues to exercise his independence in dealing with several more missions, many of which test his patience and self-control. As he moves through these challenges, he continues to embrace different elements of the Force and finds his own balance. In a further attempt to get ahead of the cultists, Luke decides to send out Jedi in pairs this time, to not have a repeat of what happened to Rosh. During this second main mission, we get to explore one of Vader's old strongholds. Not only is this an interesting addition to the lore of the core Star Wars story, but it creates a backdrop for the symbolic state of one of our students. Before exploring this, we get to explore the healthy chemistry between master and student. Jaden gets to rely on his master to help him through the initial part of the mission, but after they get separated, he is able to test the maturity of his independent nature that he has built on the previous missions. The juxtaposition of this mature independence is counterbalanced by our discovery of Rosh.
I sense your presence, Jaden. Rosh, what are you doing here? The disciples of Ragnos brought me. At first I thought they were going to kill me, but I was wrong about them. Do you realize how much power there is in the dark side? Kyle was holding us back, Jaden. You should feel the power. It's beyond anything you've ever imagined.
In his weak-willed ability to see the value in Kyle's incremental training, he decided to join the cultists in an attempt to shortcut his way to power and respect. His impressionable nature shows how childish he really is, and it's even more pathetic when you realize who left the impression.
Did you really think I would give up my new apprentice so easily?
Tavion.
You should have killed me when you had the chance, Katarn. Your pathetic Jedi mercy is a weakness that shall cost you your life, and the life of your Academy's students. But not you, my dear Rosh. Come.
Yes, Tavion.
Rosh, no!
Ha! Fool! Your petty friendship cannot compare with the power of the dark side.
So, is this what it's come to, Tavion? Stealing scraps of the Force like some sort of intergalactic parasite?
Spare me your self-righteous pity, Katarn. You may have shamed me when you spared my life, but that was before I found this. Now, I have a new master. One who has promised me the power to destroy you and all the Jedi.
Ragnos? What can a dead Sith Lord give you?
Everything I have ever wanted. Not that you'll be around to see it.
No wonder Rosh's ego was attracted to this. It would take a childish ego to follow a childish leader. After learning that doing what's right leads to the sacrifice of losing your lightsaber, Jaden and Kyle managed to make it back to Skywalker.
So now we know who is leading this cult, but that doesn't explain why there are so many Dark Force users.
Some of Dasan's leftover reborn were with her. As for the cultists, Jaden has a theory.
If the scepter can store the Force, maybe it can release it too. Tavion could be using it to empower her followers.
Corrupting disciples with the dark side of the Force. That would explain a lot. Did you get a good look at the scepter?
Yeah, I bet it belonged to Ragnos. We need to figure out what Tavion plans on doing with it if we're going to stop her.
Agreed. You are going to need to build a new lightsaber to replace the one you lost. While we try to figure out what Tavion's next move is, I'd like you to take a more active role at the Academy.
Sir?
Jaden, you handled yourself exceptionally well on Vijun. To confront 3 Dark Jedi and defeat them took bravery and skill. For your efforts, I feel you are ready to join our ranks as a Jedi Knight.
Congratulations.
Yes, Master Skywalker. Thank you both.
Jaden, after the battle, I felt the anger seething inside you. You may be a Jedi Knight now, but you still must beware of the dark side.
Yes, Kyle. I'll try not to fail you.
From a group of Darth Vader's old race of assassins to some infamous bounty hunters, this experience culminates in taking on a split responsibility mission with Kyle once again to find Rosh. Someone decides to get in your way, though.
You!
So, the itty-bitty Jedi has come to rescue his friend. That's so sweet.
Where's Rosh?
What makes you think he wants to be rescued? Tavion turned him to the dark side, just like that.
Where is he?
Ooh, someone's getting awfully angry, aren't they? Forgetting your Jedi training?
Look, Alora, why serve Tavion? It's not too late to join us and fight her. I'm taking Rosh out of here. Make it easy on yourself and tell me where he is.
Oh, he's around. I think I'll go look for him.
Obviously, there's a conflict in Jaden. He holds the principles of the Jedi in his mind, but he is obviously quite angry. This will ultimately lead to what comes next.
Rosh! Jaden! You don't look like much of a captive, Rosh. Did you dream this up, or was it Tavion's idea?
No, Jaden, wait! I was wrong. Please, take me back to the Academy. I need help. Jaden, stay back! Please don't hurt me.
You tried to kill me, and now you've lured me into a trap.
Jaden, I was scared. You have to believe me. We're friends, remember? Let's get out of here before Alora comes back.
How do I know you won't betray me again? You're always trying to beat me. How do I know this isn't just another trick?
Jaden, don't do it.
Finish him, Jedi!
Wait! Listen to what you're saying! You're angry! Don't give in to it! That leads to the dark side, right?
He only fell to the dark side because he was scared, afraid of dying. Put away your saber.
Strike him down! Give in to your anger!
Jaden, you're better than that. Don't give in to your anger. Rosh is telling the truth.
I'm sorry, Raj. You're right. I almost let my anger get the best of me. Let's get out of here.
Thank you, Jaden.
You Jedi are blandly predictable. Tavion thought that turning you would gain us an ally. But since you won't be turned, I guess it's up to me to clean up her mistake.
Stand down, Alora! You were no match for me on Hoth, and now I am a Jedi Knight.
Tavion has taught me many things as well, you sanctimonious fool.
In this first choice, you decide to spare your boy and go into fighting the disciples of Ragnos side by side with the Jedi. For your goodness, you're rewarded with the help of many light side friends to fend off the forces of evil, making it much easier to get to your final conflict.
Tavion! This stops here.
Kyle's good student. You're too late. Soon, Marka Ragnos will return and obliterate the Jedi. The Sith shall rule again.
You're delusional. Kyle told me all about you. How you went crawling away after he defeated you.
Silence, whelp! I will make Kyle Katarn's failure complete. My victory? Rosh's corruption. And now your death will drive him to the dark side.
Never!
In this iteration, it is almost like Jaden is fighting to protect not only his own growth, but his master's as well. Not willing to submit as she did to Kyle, Tavion allows herself to be completely corrupted by an ancient iteration of the dark side. This is ultimately her final test, and she gets the karma that she is owed. As a result of the mercy that she was shown, she decided to double down on her pursuit of power. She could have walked away and started a new life, but much like her apprentice and almost our friend Rosh, her ego drove her to death. Ultimately, Kyle's ambitions have been manifested in the form of his teachings. His ultimate choice to join the light side is reflected in the canon ending to this game, and the maturity that he has learned is passed on to his student. It also extends that same mercy to his other student to be able to learn the same.
Rosh, I hope your experience has taught you the patience and humility that may one day turn you into a great Jedi.
Yes, Master Skywalker. Thank you.
Jaden, you fought bravely, resisted the dark side, and saved another Jedi from certain death. You will be a valuable member of the Jedi Order.
You deserve it, Jaden. You're the best student I've ever trained, and a terrific Jedi.
Thank you both.
There's still a galaxy full of trouble out there. Are you ready for another mission?
As luck would have it, I am.
But what would happen if Jaden used his free will to choose something different? I have to admit, this is definitely the more cathartic ending, because you get to watch, well, this.
Let go of your anger!
Why should I? You yourself said how powerful the dark side was.
I was wrong.
No, you are weak.
Jaden, no!
Well done, Jedi. You have become one of us.
No!
Join us. With Marka Ragnos as our master, we will defeat the Jedi and rule the galaxy.
Join you? Why should I trade one master for another? The scepter of Ragnos is too powerful to be left in the hands of someone as weak as Tavion. If anything, it should belong to me!
Naturally, the cartoony nature of Jaden's voice acting definitely makes this ending a bit cornier, but thematically, it creates an interesting perspective on choosing the selfish path. Jaden, having to come face to face with the Jedi and the cultists, makes for a much more challenging brute forcing of the final level. At the end of the day, you are truly alone with your choice. While Rosh turned to the dark side because of his ego, Jaden turned because of his anger. Just like Rosh's ego had to get confronted, Jaden's anger must as well.
Jaden, stop! Don't get in my way, Kyle!
Jaden, I know you're angry, but it's not too late to renounce the dark side. Tavion and her cult has been stopped. We can end this here.
Oh no. This is just the beginning.
Jaden, the lure of the dark side is strong, but it will ultimately destroy you. Fight it. Rosh resisted it, you can too.
Rosh was weak. He was too afraid to grasp the true power of the dark side.
I can't let you do this, Jaden.
Then stop me, Master!
Honestly, this is the most challenging ending to the game, and you really feel the weight of this decision. Not only is it a failure on Jaden's part to embrace the mature growth that he has witnessed in himself before succumbing to his anger, but it's a mirror image of what could have been if Kyle stayed on the wrong path in the past. This is Kyle's worst fear realized. In an attempt to allow his student to make his own choices, he allowed for that choice to be the wrong one. When he told Jaden at the beginning of the game that he had the right to be angry, he wasn't wrong, but that anger ultimately turned into the darkness that Kyle had known oh so well in the past. Interestingly, though, the game doesn't end with Kyle beating Jaden.
Kyle, what happened here?
Jaden has turned to the dark side, and he's taken the scepter.
And Rosh?
Dead. Jaden killed him. He felt betrayed by Rosh, and the anger was too strong for him to control.
I misjudged him. I'm sorry, Kyle.
I failed both my students, Luke. Maybe I shouldn't be teaching at the Academy. It's not like I've been the perfect Jedi myself.
No, Kyle. Yoda and Ben were both great teachers, yet even they lost students. I can still sense good in him. There's always hope, Kyle. Remember that.
You may be right. Well, at least Tavion and her cult have been stopped. Ragnos won't be coming back.
But the scepter is too powerful. We must find Jaden and destroy it.
I'll take care of it. As my student, Jaden is my responsibility. I'm taking a leave of absence from the Academy for a while. If I find Jaden, I'll let you know.
Be careful. If there's anything I can do to help,
I will.
And may the Force be with you, Kyle.
We are reminded by both of these endings that ultimately dark and light are just reflections of our own choices. The Force is just a conduit in this universe for what the will of a person is. Whether it be ego, pride, or anger, anyone can fall to the dark side. Even when presented with a second chance, one can still choose to do the wrong thing. Or the right thing. Jaden is a reflection of us. Kyle is the one we've been learning from for all these games. And this game is a great final act, in the sense that it's a manifestation of what Kyle has taught us all along the way. We all have the capacity for good or evil, and ultimately, it's up to us whether we choose to listen to the lessons of those around us who have wisely navigated those types of situations before. As the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, "Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power." Kyle learned this lesson several times, and Jaden had the potential to learn it too by following his master's example. This game ended up not just being a meditation on learning from the wisdom of others, but it also becomes a cautionary tale that he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. Thank you for coming on this journey of dissecting the sequel to Jedi Outcast. After my examination of Kyle's journey to re-explore his Jedi identity, let me know what story of his from these games was your favorite in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to smash that like button and subscribe to see what other games and pieces of media I discuss in the future. Also, as a quick side note, I had a viewer reach out to me called Kyle the Outcast Katarn in the comments section. He just ironically came out with a short film playing Kyle Katarn, literally maybe a week or so after I came out with this video. I also find it incredibly ironic that Star Wars Theory came out with a Kyle Katarn video pretty much around the same time. You guys should definitely go check out his short film. It's got some pretty cool stunt choreography and lightsaber dueling, so just thought I'd give him a quick shout out. I appreciate every one of you for watching this far, and I invite you to come back someday to the Dutch Ritz party.